Good evening, everyone, and happy February 30th. I'm I'm Leonard Kausnowski, and I'm speaking to you from Elki, Arizona, where I'm here to celebrate uh, uh, my 32nd birthday. Uh, Everything I say is untrue. Happy Lie Day. Everything I say is untrue, though true I try to make it. As the word escapes my lips, would I had never spake it. That's a poem I wrote as a disclaimer for absolutely my entire life. Anyway, it is a holiday. I didn't even know it was a holiday till I fished around and I found it. It's Tell a Lie Day. And I got plenty of stuff to talk about for that, including some wonderful Crowley stuff. But I wanted to show you something here, if I can find my tree of life. Once again, thank you, Maria Randall, for giving me this 30 years ago. Okay, there's four parts of the soul. Okay, there's the animal soul that usually is called the nepish. Okay, and then there's the ruach, which is these six sephira right here, right in the middle. That's the ruach. And that's the intellect, okay, the reasoning, okay. And that's as far as you can think yourself toward enlightenment. But to actually wake up, you have to transcend that ruach, okay, and get yourself up here in the rarefied atmosphere of the supernal triad, this 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now above the ruach is an area where duality is transcended. In other words, all opposites are reconciled above the abyss, and something is true or is perceived as true only in so much that it contains its own opposite. So, in a sense, that was the inspiration for Crowley's Book of Lies, falsely called breaks, etc., etc. And one of the holy books of Thelema is a Liber Ararita, and you can pronounce that any way you want. And Liber Ararita, here's what Crowley says about it, is a name of God, which is the notaricon of the sentence. One is his beginning, one is his individuality, his permutation is one. The use of the name of this formula is to equate and identify every idea with its opposite, thus being released from the obsession of thinking any one of them is true and therefore binding. One can withdraw oneself from the whole sphere of ruach. In other words, a process of meditation whereby you equate absolutely everything with its opposite eventually makes you go a little crazy in a socially acceptable way. And in that craziness, you've transcended reason. Please don't go out on the street and try to explain it to people when that happens, so they won't understand. What's that, dear?
Or to your husband.
Or to your husband. I don't know what you mean by that.
Sorry,
the opening of the Tao Te Ching is trying to tell us this, okay? Even the opening act of the Old Testament, Genesis, uh, where Adam gets created, and then for some reason God takes him around the garden and says, see all this stuff? I want you to give it a name. And so Adam said, okay, that is a turtle. That is a kumquat. That over there is a small vibrating appliance. And he gave names to things. And the second things got named, Adam separated himself from that thing. That's where duality began. That's the fall. When he told you, name that thing. Get separated. Make it an it and a you, okay? And it starts, here's just a little cute, our first Tao Te Ching, I think, a little Pickwick thing, or Peter Pulper Press. The Tao described in words is not the real Tao. Words cannot describe it. Nameless is the source of creation. So before you started separating yourself by naming it, okay, so that was still above the abyss there. Nameless is the source of creation. Named, it is the mother of all things. Okay, so you open up a Pandora's box, fall dramatically from the smoothness, the smooth homogeny of the supernal triad into the chaotic world of the Ruach. What does this have to do about lies? Everything is a lie. Everything is a lie. About 15 years ago, which is about 20 years ago now, or 25, or 30,
or 40, who knows?
Once upon a time, Constance and I were driving to Huntington Beach to attend a group celebration of the rite of Mercury, when I perceived myself divinely inspired at a stoplight. It was if the winged-footed messenger of the God himself had whispered in my ear, informing me how I could magically manifest in myself the spirit and the presence of the god Mercury upon the entire gathering. Am I not the god of liars? I heard him say as the traffic light turned green. Honor and invoke me tonight by speaking nothing but lies. I instantly recognized the profundity of the idea. Excitedly, I turned to Constance and told her that I was going to invoke Mercury by telling nothing but lies the whole evening. What was your response, dear?
No, you're not. Or something like that.
Yeah, no, you're not, was her wise response. I couldn't believe she couldn't see the magical genius in the idea. I argued that it'd be the perfect invocation. I told her, every chance I get, I'll lie. Mercury will love it. I'll be the only person there actually doing something purely mercurial. Besides, it'll be lots of fun. But Constance saw nothing perfect about it. I want nothing to do with it, was her answer. You're not going to do it. I finally gave in and said, okay, I won't do it. The invocation of Mercury had begun. We arrived a few minutes late. I apologized for our tardiness, saying that we had just returned from the cemetery where we had watched the exhumation of my father's body. Constance looked at me with silent disgust and found an excuse to get as far away from me as she could for the rest of the evening. She's still mad at me.
Only for other reasons.
For other things, too. This was a small blip on the radar. Of course, everyone wanted to know why my father's body had been exhumed, and I was only too glad to tell them. It seemed that the family of my mother's second husband had been told by an acquaintance that my mother had bragged to a mutual friend about how she poisoned my father. They took their suspicions to the police and finally got a warrant to exhume Dad's body for testing. Everyone at the party was enthralled by the story, which I told with a perfectly straight face. I even proudly pointed to the ring I was wearing that evening and told them that I'd been allowed to take it off my father's finger when they opened the casket. I said, hey, and I did that, and everybody went, oh, yeah. Okay. Next, I told a few of the cast members how hot they looked in their Egyptian wigs and costumes. But I didn't get a chance to tell many more lies before the evening started, or the ceremony started. At the party that followed, however, I again became fully possessed by my Lord Mercury. The lies dripped like quicksilver off my lips. I started by announcing that our landlord had discovered that our house was contaminated with radon, and that we had been forced to move to Garden Grove, where we now rented a large house owned by General Key, the former Prime Minister of South Vietnam. I said it had a big backyard where we could be able to do initiations and produce the rites of Eleusis, and that there was a rifle range in the basement. Everybody believed me. You know, it's hard to keep up a constant stream of lies, even for me. In fact, I was starting to realize that it's impossible not to drag some element of truth into a lie. Actually, I was starting to realize the inconstant and relative nature of reality itself, how there is no absolute truth, no absolute lies. Was this the mercurial revelation? The mercurial trance of sorrow? Try as I might to remain in character, the strain of all the lies eventually began to show. As the evening wore on, and it couldn't end fast enough for Constance, people began to suspect something was wrong with Lon's behavior. Our closest circle of friends became genuinely concerned. They cornered me in the kitchen just as I was reaching into the freezer for a bottle of gin. Lon, is there anything wrong? You're acting sort of strange tonight. I looked at each of their sweet faces, and it suddenly seemed that the burden of the entire universe was about to be lifted from my shoulders. Every cheap movie confession cliche uttered now in my brain with Shakespearean gravitas. I can't go on living a lie. This was a surprise payoff. the moment of unexpected spiritual bliss. A breathless moment when the feather of Mott quivers tiptoe on the scale pan of judgment. The moment my answer would free me from the mercurial hell that Constance knew I would create for myself with this stupid, harebrained idea. These people loved me. These people cared. I toyed with them shamelessly with their feelings. I was ashamed and so overwhelmed that I didn't know whether I'd be able to answer without choking up. I put down the bottle of gin, and I looked each of them in the eye and confessed. My doctor told me I have a brain tumor. Everyone gawked at me in silence. People near the kitchen overheard, and soon everyone at the party knew why I had been saying all those outrageous things all night. When Constance heard this last whopper, she could stay silent no longer. He does not have a brain tumor. He's been telling lies all night because Mercury's the god of liars. Nothing he said is true. I told him it was a stupid idea. When the shock wore off, everyone else thought it was a stupid idea too. Nobody, it seemed, recognized the pure magical genius of my invocation of Mercury. Nobody, of course, but me. For a while, I chalked it up to the curse of the Magus thing. Then I just realized that pranks such as this are not what invocation is about. Okay, that's my lie story, and I'm sticking to it. I think that's enough for today.
Oh, you're not going to mention about opposites?
About what?
Opposites.
Oh, yes, about opposites. I sort of did that first there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, reconciling opposites is a fantastic exercise for plugging into that level of consciousness where opposites are transcended. And nobody knows how to do that better than a Pisces. Are you a double Pisces, dear?
No.
Jean-Paul is, our son is, right?
He's got more than
Yeah. But
that's how we get along.
but Constance seems to have mastered this
Oh, no.
naturally, because
You're going to say something bad.
so. But before I plunge us into me perhaps saying something bad, it wouldn't be bad; it'd be good, but
It'd sound bad.
it'd sound. Anyway, I'm getting out of here today. I'll probably see you tomorrow from the parking lot of some fluffy health food store. Anyway, be careful how you lie today. And that doesn't mean go out of your way to tell the truth, because it'll be a lie anyway. Okay. Just as the I Ching says, watch what comes out of your mouth and watch what goes into it. And
So we're going to the fluffy health food.
so we're going to the fluffy health food store. Okay, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love is the law.
Bye.